Hey, this is Daniel with another ASMT video. For the most part, you've probably already seen the instructor flow. Going ahead is simply going from courses to lectures to the lecture by student breakdown. I think most of the shortcomings now are really just on getting more analytics to higher levels. So in theory, for example, at the course metrics level, to go ahead when you click on your course, to go ahead and have more metrics here. Maybe something pertinent to probably a student view, where like the lectures are listed down here. Maybe do a tab, have a lectures tab, and then a student tab, and click on the student tab, you're able to see your students directly. And then go ahead and see kind of like the view you see here. But to go ahead, instead of having it lectures viewing the students for that lecture, you can go ahead and view the student and then view the interactions with each one of the lectures. I think that'd be a lot better for going ahead and kind of it's probably actually the best way to view the data for the user. I mean, in terms of other shortcomings, if you come over to things like the video data view, we can probably go over to the way the heat map is done, where these are kind of piled on rectangles. And as you can see, the heat map is kind of a grayscale map. Probably maybe there's some way with D3 to go ahead and iterate through colors, maybe blue to a red or something like that. And then to go ahead and maybe have a lecture level one. And you can better show kind of a stacked, the difference in gradient. Because here it's kind of hard to see the differences. And I think maybe if we go ahead and just do a proper heat map, you'll be able to see the differences a lot better. Especially for view data that's very heavy. Like in this case, there's 670%. So there are 319 minutes of view being transposed onto here. I think the hard part would be figuring out how to show this data without it being so kind of I want to say like dark in this case, because the whole entire video has been watched over very many times. How to view this way and without dampening it. Because I mean, one option is to go ahead and, because the video has been viewed so many times, is to lighten up this heat map so you can see the differences better. But then when doing a heat map to heat map comparison, that throws everything off if each heat map has a average it's based off of, or a different a different scaling. Going from here, I mean, there's some obvious things like, well, you're not logging in as an instructor or anything like that. But I guess as being a proof of concept to be integrated into another application that already has authentication stuff, probably won't provide much value. Actually, maybe one of the best places to go ahead and pull up more information regarding this is a Google Sheets that me, Dr. Prabhakar, Dr. Rangaswamy, and Leonardo from Mementos had went over. In this case, and I'll link this in the video, or maybe not actually in the video because this will be a public video, but to go ahead and different views to offer. So you can go ahead and maybe add things like sorting into this. So say you have all your students listed here, to go ahead and have the ability to sort them by completion, view time, etc. Maybe even set some threshold to go ahead and mark some users this whole entire area as red, or add some transparency or some type of identifier to notify if a user hasn't watched more than maybe 40% or 50% of the video. Over here covers some other topics. And these changes to make, they've been done, except for the device uses and subtitles. I mean, those would be kind of triggers just to go ahead and say maybe if the viewing was done with subtitles or device usage enabled, just kind of like informational things. But going ahead and getting some aggregate data, like the number of hours that it's been watched on average, the view across the lectures, and going ahead and implementing ranking. Going to the code base, there isn't really too much that's awry. I think some things, such as the computation of average time viewed, may be able to be pushed back into the data and the models. I tried to keep the view data model and the lecture model separate. So in this case, the front end is where these two models come together, and you're actually able to compute with the view data what is the percentage relative to the actual length of the lecture. There may be some way to do it. I suppose you can maybe have the lecture length in two places, or you can push the lecture length down into the view data, but that would remove that kind of information from the lecture level. Or maybe it is a reasonable place to do this, going ahead and just computing the average time viewed and going ahead and putting all the data together. I would say maybe, I think on the video data view, there is also another situation like that. Actually, it looks to not be. Worst case scenario, it's another computation over the view data. So this is actually being executed in the lecture for n amount of students. It's going to go ahead and summate all of their view data, which in theory isn't the end of the world. It's just a bunch of math. But there may be some way of actually, it might be a value to push into the model, where the model next to the view data. So let's pull that up. The current model has things like average date, end date, and start date. So those were kind of a pain. Those are more computationally intensive to go ahead and figure out like the average date weighted by the view data. So it might be something here to add in. Just go ahead and put in the total time viewed or something like that, because it's simply just a summation of these ends minus the starts for all the view data. I think going forward as well, some type of testing scheme should definitely be implemented better in this project, other than mostly just manually testing to verify everything. And then maybe in some cases, some variables can be better renamed. Maybe like this SVG tooltip, as mentioned in the, the div tooltip as mentioned in the ASMT front maintenance video. It doesn't really have a good naming, but I can actually switch that right now. Other than that, I do not think, other than going into features, that there is much more to implement. But I would definitely go back into the data questions that we had with Leonardo, and I'll speak to Dr. Prabhakar, Dr. Pragaswamy, and kind of see what are these next stories to be played, because that'll probably provide the most value going forward.